What's up guys, Dennis Films here with another video, and today we're talking about this little camera right here again. But we're actually talking about my picture profile settings and video settings that I use on all my projects. Before we get into it, I feel like this set may need a little bit more color. It feels a little bland, a little sterile, you know? So let's do that. Now that we're in the camera, we're gonna start with section 1, subsection 1, and just run through all the settings. Now, we're only gonna be talking about the video settings, nothing to do with photography, but just a note, I'm in the film strip icon in settings, meaning the little wheel you have right here for to change your different modes. We're in the film mode, that's the film strip. So in section 1, subsection 1, you're gonna see aspect ratio. Everything's gonna be grayed out because those are photography settings, so we're not gonna touch those. First thing you're gonna see is aspect ratio. I keep mine at 16:9, so there's that. And the next thing is long exposure noise reduction. We're gonna turn that on, so keep that on. High ISO noise reduction, normal, and color space, sRGB. Let's keep going. Let me bring the mic a little bit towards me so y'all can hear me better. Okay, now we are in the third section of shoot mode, drive 1. And you'll see bracket settings. Those are off. I don't use brackets. As you're gonna see, this thing's gonna move kind of quick. Just stop the video at any point if you need to catch up. Priority set and autofocus, I keep a balanced emphasis on it. So I really don't know what those two settings do. They're just where they're at. If you know exactly what those do, please drop a comment below. I'm curious. For focus area is always wide. As you can see, you have zone, center, flexible spot, fan flexible spot, all that good stuff, but we keep it on wide. So let's go back. And then autofocus illuminator off. That's really a photography thing where you'll see the little light in front of the camera light up as you hit the shutter for pre-focus. Then you have autofocus with shutter. We keep that on. Autofocus area auto clear off. Display continuous autofocus area on. I keep that on. And now we're in subsection 7, autofocus micro adjustment is off. ISO, I shoot S-Log, so my ISO is always at a minimum of 800. If you shoot Cine 4 or something like that, of course your ISO will be lower at baseline. Metering mode, that is super important. I use multi, so it takes in everything of the frame to give me an accurate meter on how my exposure is. That is something I always keep at multi. Spot metering point is center, and then my exposure step is 0.3 EV. Now let's move on to the subsection 9. AEL with shutter is at auto. Exposure standard adjustment. I don't know what that is. Again, the settings I don't know, I'm gonna let you know. And if you do know, please comment below and just, you know, throw me a little information. Moving on, flash composite, that's photography or composition, I mean. We're not worried about that. And so is the exposure. Yeah, that's all photography. White balance, I keep on daylight. Do not use auto white balance. There's some scenarios I could see you using auto white balance, maybe vlogging. Other than that, you need to set your white balance whenever you're in a situation, to the situation. So if you have daylight coming in, then you're gonna have it at 5600 Kelvin or daylight under the camera. Set your white balance to that because that can really affect your color grade, and sometimes it's very hard to correct if you got it wrong in camera. So priority set in auto white balance, standard, but again, I never use white balance. And here's what y'all been waiting for. Picture profile. So let's get in. I use PP7. My black level is 0. My gamma is S-Log 2. My black gamma is range middle and level 0. My knee is at auto. My color mode is S gamut. Saturation is 0. Don't want it to add. I'd rather do everything in post. Color phase 0. Color depth, that is all 0 across the board. And detail. Now detail is about the only thing I changed. I went from -5. I believe the original is -7. So it is increasing the sharpness a little bit in camera or in the profile. It automatically sets that, I guess, so it's a little bit more softer. And of course, I don't use sharpening in post, so I rather just kind of correct it in there. And that's what I believe detail is, honestly. I may be wrong, though. My black gamma actually should be in wide. I don't know why it's in middle. That kind of caught my eye. That is my picture profile. Nothing special. I know y'all probably expected something very crazy. Really, I'll tell you what I learned is I shot with the same thing every time. So S-Log2, and never changed that. And so I worked around the profile. And so I learned what works best for that picture profile. Where does S-Log work best? Where does it throw off? Just practice with it. And that's all you gotta do is just practice, practice, practice. Don't stop till you get enough, you know? Soft skin effect, off. You don't want the camera doing all that for us. So to move on, focus magnifier. Focus magnifier, I don't use. Focus magnify time, no limit. Autofocus in magnification, on. Manual focus assist, I keep that on. Just in case when I do manual focus, I need to see if sometimes the screen's not clear enough, so I need to have something that highlights where the focus is hitting. So that's awesome to have. I have the peaking level for it at high, and then the peaking color red. Smile face detection. Now this is a setting I turn on and off. A lot of times I'll keep it off. I keep it off, and then say for weddings or if I have a single subject, I'll use it. I'll turn it on. You can also register the faces, so you can take the individual person that you're working with or the many people you're working with and actually register it, and it will tack on quicker. So keep that in mind, but that is a longer process to do. Let's get into section 2. Section 2 is very important for video settings. So movie S&Q motion, always at manual exposure. I never change that. File format, this is something that changes quite frequently. Most of the time I'm shooting 4K at 24 frames per second, and if I am in 1080, I'm shooting 60 or 120. But in this case, for me to record my screen, I have to shoot in 1080, and then of course I'm gonna use 24 frames per second because that's the most cinematic. Yeah. Anyways, S&Q settings, do not use S&Q. Oh man, I know they added this as an option, but don't touch it. Basically what it is, it's you shooting 60 or 30, 60 or 120 frames in camera, and it slows it down in camera, but you're having a huge quality loss because the megabits per second is 25. Don't do it. It's not worth it to see it in camera. Just do it in post. It really sucks. It really brings down the quality, so I wouldn't recommend that. Dual video record, off. Autofocus drive speed, I keep at normal. Autofocus track, responsive. Auto slow shutter, on. Of course, audio recording, on. Audio recording level, I keep at 7 dB or 9 dB. Really, I'm not using on-camera mics except when I do lav mics for weddings. That's about the only time. Everything else is boom work. Anyways, audio level display, on. Wind noise reduction, I keep off. Marker display is definitely on. This is important to me because this will tell me my borders. So when you add those black bars in post, not always are you gonna get right without having a guideline. So with this, my center is off, my aspect is 2:35:1. This will give me the ratio of what the black bars are at in post, so I'm not cropping or cutting anybody's head off with black bars. When I get in editing, I'll have the composition right. E front curtain shutter or electronic front curtain shutter is on. Release without lens enabled, release without card enabled. Steady shot is always on. You can also go to your settings if you're using like an old lens that doesn't have many electronics to it. You can go to Steady Shot Adjust and turn it to manual, and then you can pick the focal length that you're currently using. So that's a good thing to have, but I keep it at auto. I don't have any old lenses. So zoom, this is really something I don't touch. I have it on just in case I ever need it. I've never used it, but it's there. And zoom setting on, clear image zoom. Display button, we're not worried about that. Finder frame rate, 60 frames per second. Another important thing, zebras. Zebras also help with getting the best image possible. I have mine always at 100 plus, and the reason being is that when you have bright highlights such as behind me, right now in my monitor, I'm getting zebra stripes at the top of the ceiling. Let's see if I can get this. At the top of the ceiling, that's telling me that that's blown out. So when you're blown out, that results in a less quality. Now sometimes blown out highlights look good, don't get me wrong. Some of them do look good, especially if you would use, say, a Pro Mist or something to soften the highlights even more. That will look good, but most of the times I don't like my highlights blown. So having the zebras tell me, hey, you're blowing them, bro. You know, you need to bring down your ISO or something. That's an important setting. 100 plus is where I keep it. Exposure set guide on. My auto review is 2 seconds, but I believe that's really for photography. Custom key shoot, I don't touch none of this. Function menu set, function upper 1, drive mode, upper 2. I don't know if y'all really want to see this, what my custom buttons are. Here it is. If you want to see it again, just pause the video. I may be moving a little bit quickly. It's just because it's a settings video. Dial wheel setup, pretty much shutter speed and f-stop. Moving on to dial wheel EV comp off. Movie button always, and then dial wheel lock, unlock, audio signals on. Guys, if you loved the video, please hit that like button, and if you enjoy this content, subscribe. You know, if you want to, just consider it. I hope y'all have a great day and enjoyed this content, and I hope this was informative to y'all. Also, I have a store where I sell LUTs and effect products. If you want to buy that too, that's cool too. And later.